All right, we're growing sunflowers, but you gotta stop watering from the surface like a sucker. We're using Ollas, okay? The terracotta pots that are buried in the ground. For a very, very low cost, you can significantly reduce the amount of water you have to use when growing your garden. So about 2 weeks ago, you can see a tray of the wild bird seed sprouts. So you just pick out some of the sunflowers, just like that, and then we're gonna, transplant those into little pots and kind of let their roots get big enough before we put them into the main garden. If they're too small at the beginning, they tend to get eaten. I had a whole tray of sunflowers eaten already this season, and I was very angry and sad at the same time. So, we just transplant a bunch of these, water them for 2 weeks, and you're good to go. Now with the Ollas, the beautiful thing about the Ollas, if you live in a hot climate and it's hot all year round, you can really just leave those in the ground the whole year and just keep watering them and checking on them, make sure they're not leaking. But if you live in cold climates where the winters and the summers there's a dramatic shift, you want to take them out in the winter, because if there's any frozen water in them, they can crack the pots. So the idea is with the Ollas, you always want to avoid watering on the surface if you can, especially if you're in hot climates. You're going to lose so much of that water to evaporation. At the beginning, obviously, it's not as big a deal watering from the surface, but as the plant root system gets bigger, you want to try to make sure you're watering directly to the roots. So when I can, I try to use flower pots and water the flower dishes so that you're watering from the bottom. It's just more efficient. You're saving more water. Okay, so to make these Ollas, you need silicone rubber caulk, you need some duct tape from the dollar store or wherever, and an unglazed terracotta flower pot. You tape the inside. I've tried a whole bunch of different things, cork, all this, taping the top side, the bottom. Look, duct tape on the inside, my lovers, makes this super easy. This is the easiest way. It's the cheapest way. It works. The success rate of this is high success rate. You don't need to be savvy or technical or whatever. Literally, you do what I'm doing right here. And the idea here is to stop that bottom hole. That if it was a flower pot, you'd want it for drainage, but because it's an Olla, you want to stop that water so it just holds water in the ground. So you got a terracotta pot that's got microscopic pores in it. So it'll always have a little bit of moisture around it underground. So the roots, as they start to grow and the drier days, they'll just start searching for that moisture. And you'll see at the end of the season when you pull your terracotta pots out of the ground that all the roots have wrapped around the pots. It's pretty cool. So you just basically put that caulk in there, and then you want to let it dry for 30 minutes. It's a sunny day, so it'll dry pretty quick. And you see how the tape on the underside just stops the caulk from going anywhere. It just makes it super duper easy. I don't ever take that tape off. When I fill it with water, the tape will just eventually lose its adhesiveness and float to the top, and I just pick it out. So I just leave it there, honestly. But you can take it off afterwards. It was not a big deal, but I just never do. It's just kind of a weird thing. I'm like, if it floats to the top, then everything's good. I just pick it out and it's ready to go. So I will take that, and you always make sure you test it, my lovers. Like in the beginning, I would just be like, oh, good enough, put it in the ground. But then you might get leaks and stuff, and you'll notice you come back and check and your Olla's empty because there's small little leaks in there. So you really want to put water in there. I'd say test it for 24 hours. See that? It's dried. This is the next day. It's all dried. You see that stuff on the outside, it looks like it's moist, but it's actually just dried caulk. There's no water being placed in there. It's totally dry. It's bone dry, even though it looks like. So you just make sure that those edges, that's where the water would be leaking out, that they're just dried to the touch, and that you don't feel any leak. And you can usually look under the side and see like a dollop of like a drop of water. If there's a leak, there'll be little droplets forming. So just make sure there's none of that. When you filled it with water, let it sit for 24 hours and then just check the bottom. So, it's the drop test, and then you just bury them in the ground. Then you put a little top on it, like a little flower dish on the top, and then I put a brick on top of that just to make sure it stays closed. You can leave those open and for a rainy day and let it rain into those and then close it after the rainy day. But if you don't think there's any rainy days, you can just go ahead and fill it up, and you're good to go. Super easy, super affordable, super cheap. Thanks for watching.